first down. They hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. And again, it's picked up. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with his second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go. A pick six for the Maniac.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, Colts fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice podcast. I'm your host, Cody Felger. Your other host, Mr. Derek Larger. And Derek, today we're going to – I thought it was appropriate with training camp happening very soon. At the time of this recording, about a week out from training camp. And so I thought it'd be good to kind of just look at some Colts over-under predictions. I have a few predictions here. And so how we're going to do this, Derek, is I'm going to give you a prediction for a certain player. And maybe, like the quarterback, I might give you a few other ones. And you'll say whether you think the player will go over that stat or under that stat and kind of what your prediction is along with that. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. And then overall, we're going to also look at the offense and the defense, and I'll give you a ranking, and you'll let me know if you think the team will be better or worse than that, over or under that. So that's what we're going to do on this podcast. All right, so here we go.
Sounds fun.
We'll start with the most important position in football, the quarterback position. The Colts addressed this in multiple ways this year. Obviously, first off, signing Phillip Rivers, the longtime Chargers quarterback, to a one-year deal, $25 million. And then obviously drafting Jacob Eason in the fourth round. But Rivers, at least this year, is probably going to be your starter, right? He's undoubtedly going to be your starter if he stays healthy. And so I kind of looked at – it's kind of interesting looking at Phillip Rivers' stats from 2018 to 2019 because it's like a night and day difference in terms of in certain different ways. And so for the 2020 season, I got him going for 4,300 yards. First off, what do you think about the 4,300 yards overall?
I am going under with that amount of yards. I'm actually going to go under because I know that with the way the Colts want to run the football this year, I feel that that's going to take a lot of time away from Phillip Rivers. And I feel with that slight increase in his age, I feel that it's just going to be something where he's not going to want to throw the ball down the field 50 yards every play. So I feel it's going to be a little under that.
Yeah, and you look at the difference. I mean, 2018, he threw for 4,300 yards, just a little above that. And then last year, he had to throw it a lot more, so he threw for 4,600 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
So when he gets a running game, he doesn't have to throw it that much. I think that's a good number.
Yeah.
I think 4,300 or anywhere within the full 4,000-yard range is probably about where it's going to go.
Yeah.
So touchdowns, interesting. So he went from 32 to 23, so I'm going to set it kind of in the middle. I'm going to go 26 passing touchdowns.
That's a good one. I think I would go slightly over. I think I'm going to go slightly over 26. I felt like, especially with the interception numbers, that'll probably go down. He'll have a lot more options this year. He may not have the elite wide receiver of a Keenan Allen to help him, but he's going to have a lot more options to throw the ball to in Indianapolis. So I think it'll be over 26.
Okay, interceptions. He went from 12 to 20. So I added those two and divided them by 2. And if my math's correct, that means I'm going to predict 16 this next year. So kind of in the middle between these last 2 years. What do you think?
I'm going under. Which, while I think it will be very, very close to that number, probably 14 or 15, I think it'll be slightly under. I think he's going to have a better wide receiver core, or like I said, better wide receiver core, better coaching, way better offensive line this year. He's not going to really throw a lot of those unnecessary interceptions. So I think 14, 15 is right where I'd be at.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's about right there.
Yeah.
He's not, like you said, he's not going to be forced to throw into double, triple coverage in order to try to win a game and throw it 50 times per game.
Right.
That's not how the Colts are going to do it. So we can move on to the running backs now. Marlon Mack last year had over 1,000 yards, almost had 1,100 yards, just 9 yards short of that. So I'm going to set that at 1,100 yards because Marlon Mack didn't play in all 16 games last year. What do you think? Marlon Mack over under 1,100 yards this year?
I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under 1,100.
Okay.
I think 900 to 1,000 definitely sounds reasonable for Marlon Mack. just with the sharing of snaps when it comes to Jonathan Taylor. I just think that 1,100, he may not be the feature back for when they're in the middle of the field. I think Marlon Mack could eventually become more of a red zone running back, just to the way he has become a lot more shifty at the line of scrimmage. We've seen a lot of those runs where he's broken insane touchdown runs in the red zone. I think that's where they're going to use him a lot more often. So that's going to reduce how many yards he gets. I view his touchdown numbers going up potentially, but yards, I'm going to go under 1,100.
Okay, and that leads me to the next one. He had 8 rushing touchdowns last year. He had 9 in 2018. So he had less rushing touchdowns last year on about 50 more attempts. So I'm going to set it at 8. You think he's going to go over 8, though?
I think he's going to go over 8. I think he has the potential to hit 10 this year. I do think he does.
Okay, really?
Yep.
And then I'll just also add average, because I think that's important as well. Overall, in his career, he's had a 4.4 average. He had that last year. So I'm just going to set it at 4.4. Do you think he's going to be around there? Do you think he's going to be over? Do you think he's going to be under? Because ideally, when sharing snaps with Jonathan Taylor, he's going to see less carries than he did last year and even the season before that.
Right.
What do you think about his average?
Well, and if I have to follow the concept of what I said was, in the red zone, if you're going to run in the red zone, a lot of times that's going to make it for a much tighter run average. So I think his average yards is actually going to go down. I'm going to go under, probably have him around a 3.8, 3.9 this year, right about what he was as a freshman in this league. But again, I think that, it's going to be under for me.
Okay, sure. Fair enough. Jonathan Taylor now. Well, let's move to Jonathan Taylor. The last 2 seasons at Wisconsin, he's had over 2,000 rushing yards. Last year, he had 21 rushing touchdowns alone. He was a beast last year at Wisconsin. He's been a beast ever since he was really with the Badgers. I mean, every single year, even his first year, he almost had 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go 1,000 yards as well, because I know you just did a video on Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack potentially reaching. Could one of those guys be a Pro Bowler, and maybe that means one of them reaches 1,000 yards? So I'm going to set it at 1,000 yards for Jonathan Taylor. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking the number you gave me for Marlon is what I think Jonathan might reach. So I'm thinking 1,100 for him. So I'm going over for Jonathan Taylor's yards. Yes. Okay.
So you definitely see him as eclipsing the 1,000-yard mark this year, for sure.
Absolutely. Rookie running back, 1,000 yards, man.
Wow.
Got the 93 speed rating in Madden for a reason. Fastest rookie running back, all right?
And somehow Isaiah Rodgers only has a 90, but I don't understand that.
I have no idea how that's possible, but okay. Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Rodgers had a 0.11 second faster than Jonathan Taylor, but Jonathan Taylor gets a 93 and Isaiah Rodgers gets a 90. That boggles my mind. Absolutely boggles my mind. No offense to Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, Rodgers was a little faster than you for obvious reasons. But, I mean, the fact that you have a faster speed rating is just phenomenal to me.
Right. But Jonathan Taylor is insanely fast, though.
Oh, he ran a 4.39. I mean, at 230 pounds, that's incredible. That's incredible. Nobody runs that.
Absolutely. And kind of with your prediction, this could be the first time the Colts have 2,000-yard rushers. I believe the last time was when they won the Super Bowl back in 2006. Joseph Adai, Dominic Rhodes both ran for 1,000 yards. I mean, that's the kind of production you could be looking from.
That's what helps you further on down the road towards the Super Bowl. It's the run game. It keeps your quarterback from having to be in those late game situations like that.
The parallels are interesting, though, because Dominic Rhodes, after that season, he was kind of the veteran running back. Then Joseph Adai took over, first-round pick, early-round pick. And now Marlon Mack's in the last year of his deal. And now Jonathan Taylor potentially could do the same thing. So that's just interesting. Yeah. We can move on to touchdowns, though. Okay. I'm going to set the same there because I just don't know. Like, he had over 20 rushing touchdowns last year. But, I mean, college to the NFL is obviously a lot different. So I'll set it at 8 as well. What do you think for Jonathan Taylor?
That's a good one because I said Marlon Mack was probably going to get a few more of the red zone opportunities, but then again, Jonathan Taylor's probably going to get his as well because it's that's a big guy running there too. So
Huge, yeah.
if the Colts maintain to the run game the way we think they're going to, I do believe that I think that Jonathan Taylor can hit that number. So I will actually go over as well. I think that he can be right at about the same amount of touchdowns as Marlon Mack by the end of the year.
Yeah, so you're predicting both these guys are going over on the touchdowns. I mean, they're going to have a lot of rushing touchdowns this next year.
Yeah, a lot of rushing this year.
Let's look at this average. Jonathan Taylor's average is just absolutely insane. I mean, he's almost averaging 7 yards per carry. And
that's not going to happen.
He's carried so much, right? He's had so many carries.
Yeah.
But he's averaging insane numbers. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But actually, last year was actually his worst yards per carry. I mean, 6.3 is still pretty darn good.
Still really good.
So I'm going to set it at – let's just set it at what Marlon Mack had last year. Let's just set it at that because it's so hard to predict. 4.4. What do you think?
I think it's over. I think it's over because Jonathan Taylor at Wisconsin throughout his career with 8+ defenders in the box still averaged a 5.5 yards per carry with 8 defenders in the box. So I do believe that Jonathan Taylor can get a 4.5 average. So I'll go over.
Okay. And especially with the passing game that we think is going to be vastly improved from the season before. I think that certainly will help him. All right, we'll move on to the wide receivers here. Now, here's a guy that's been with the Colts ever since really, the new era, and then now a newer era came into Indianapolis. T.Y. Hilton was one of the first selections of Ryan Grigson in 2012. I would say he's been the best selection out of Ryan Grigson's picks. I know that can kind of be debated with Andrew Luck, but T.Y. Hilton he's still playing, and he's still productive.
Yeah.
Last year was, though, his least productive year, and injuries played a big factor into that. But he still had over 45 catches, over 500 yards, 5 touchdowns. But I'm going to go back to his 2018 season because it was one of his best seasons he's had in a while. He had 76 catches, 1,270 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So we'll kind of set that as the over-under for right now. I'm going to go with T.Y. Hilton, 75 catches. What do you think about that, over-under?
I'm going to probably go under. I'm going to go under with that because I think with the multiple different weapons that are going to try to get used this year with Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman, and also the addition of a Trey Burton, and knowing that Phillip Rivers likes to throw the ball to Nyheim Hines, a running back like that, I feel like it's just going to take a few receptions away from T.Y. Hilton. So, I'm going to go under for 75.
Okay, and you mentioned Nyheim Hines. I didn't even factor Nyheim Hines into this. I guess I'll kind of factor him in.
We can do that at another time. I mean, we'll have to do a episode later on of like actual stats when it comes to Nyheim because that's going to be one of the most interesting players. We'll make him his own episode later on.
Okay, you don't want to do an over/under of him real quick?
Yeah, we'll just deal with him later on. He's going to have his own episode with it.
We really like Nyheim Hines.
Yes, we do like Nyheim Hines. We're actually going to have to get him like on his own episode because of the fact he has so many different roles in the way this team plays that I think that it's important that we just kind of give him his own kind of category in that.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that one. That one's coming.
Absolutely.
All right. T.Y. Hilton, 1,200 yards. What do you think?
I'm going under. I'm going to go under this one. I think even though I think he can hit 1,000, I don't know if he's going to quite hit 1,200. So I'm going to go slightly under.
All right. And then receiving touchdowns. I'm going to set it at 5.
I'll go over. I'll go over that because he had 5 touchdowns in half the year he was hurt. So, I mean, I think that T.Y. Hilton is vastly underrated, especially in the red zone too. So I think, 5 is definitely an over for me.
Cool. All right, we'll move to Michael Pittman, the Colts' really first selection this year, second-round pick. I'm going to set his at 50 catches. What do you think about 50 catches for Michael Pittman this year?
I think that that's a good one. I think Michael Pittman can get 50 catches. I said he's going to be our main red zone target, I think, with his height. So I think that he is going to get 50 catches. I'll go over.
All right. Let's go 700 yards for Michael Pittman.
Oh boy. If Frank Reich is very, very interested in what Michael Pittman can do, I have a feeling Frank Reich's going to have a lot in store for Michael Pittman. I do believe Michael Pittman will go over 700.
Okay. And you mentioned you think he's going to be one of the most red zone targets. So let me test your confidence in Michael Pittman. He's going to have double-digit touchdowns, 10 touchdowns or more. Over or under? You say more or less?
Oh, man. Man, that's a tough one. I think it is quite possible. If I said he's going to get over 50 catches, then I would think that the majority of those would come in the red zone. I did say that I think earlier he could be that way, so I am going to take my chances and go over. I think he'll have 10 or 11 this year. Actually, I'm going to go at the line. At the line. 10.
Okay.
I'm going to go at the line. Yep.
Okay. Cool. And then I'm going to throw in a caveat here because we know he's notorious for not dropping the football.
All right.
3 drops for Michael Pittman this year. Over or under?
I hate to say this because it's like, it's just the Colts luck of things that we drop passes. I'm just going to say it just because that's just Colts luck for me. But it's going to be – I'm going to go over with that. Especially with if he's going to be that red zone target, he's going to get put into a lot of other situations that are going to be tough for a lot of people. So I think he will have a few extra drops this year. But I don't think it'll be a huge issue, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, well, let's move to Paris Campbell, one of your boys from Ohio State.
Yep.
Hurt a lot last year, but when he got the chance to get the ball in his hands, he showed flashes. So you think Paris Campbell will be more healthy this year?
Yeah.
He's got a better quarterback, an upgraded quarterback, a quarterback that likes to give his guys chances to go to make plays. So with that, Paris Campbell's more of a gadget receiver, I would say, than Michael Pittman at this point.
Yeah.
So let's go with 45 catches for Paris Campbell. And they may not always be those longer catches. They may just be kind of dump offs to Paris Campbell, letting him go do his thing. What do you think about 45 catches for Paris Campbell this year?
I think that 45 catches is right at about where I think Paris Campbell would be. Because I feel like you said, he's going to be one of those multi-tool guys that, you're going to try to get at a situation where he's going to come into the backfield. And I don't really like to consider those passes, even though they are, those little dump passes, just straightforward. That's technically a pass, but it's really not when you look at it from that standpoint. 45 actual thrown balls beyond the line of scrimmage. I'm going to say slightly under, just because I feel they're going to use Paris Campbell in a bunch of other ways outside of that.
Okay. And you said they're going to use him in different ways, so that must mean he's getting handoffs, he's getting different stuff like that don't necessarily translate into catches.
Yeah, exactly.
With that, let's move to the yardage. Paris Campbell, let's go 500 yards of offense. Now, I know what you're thinking, Derek. It's probably a little bit low balling here. I'm guessing you're going to go over with Paris Campbell, especially considering how much you've hyped him up this year. But let me just hear your thoughts on it. 500 yards. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think it's over. I think it is over because Paris Campbell has that big play mentality. He's just one of those guys that can break 100 yards in a game when it comes to, just every single play that he has. So I am going to go over. That's no question for me. I think 600 to 700 yards easy is what Paris Campbell can do with the way they want to use him.
Okay. And I'm just going to put 7 touchdowns because he could run it in, he could catch it. So let's go 7 touchdowns overall for Paris Campbell. What do you think?
That's interesting. Well, I said Michael Pittman at 10. I said T.Y. probably will get around 7 or 8 this year. What was the number you said? You said 7, right?
7, yep.
I'm going to go at the line again. I don't think it'll be under that, but I don't think it'll be quite over. So I'm going with that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think 7's a good number.
Yeah, I think 7's a very solid number for him. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to So this is kind of how we're going to do it. We're going to move on to our last guy, Zach Pascal here. And then there's going to be a 5 and we'll even do a 6 wide receiver. Why not? And we're going to make them a little bit different for that, because obviously they're not going to get a lot of touches this this upcoming season if they're 5 and 6. They'll probably play more special teams. But I'll throw something in for him real quick. The last guy, Zach Pascal. Last year he was a Colts leading receiver. He had 41 catches, 607 yards, 5 touchdowns. So with that, I'm going to go 40 catches for Zach Pascal. What are your thoughts if he's the number 4 wide receiver?
40 catches. I think that 41 catches, even at number 4, I think Zach Pascal eclipses that by a little bit. I think Zach Pascal does have more catches this year. I know he's going to have to share the load with Michael Pittman and T.Y. Hilton, but Zach Pascal's been efficient. He's been reliable. He's been one of the only guys to really stay healthy on this roster and stick around. And if they're not going to use Paris Campbell as much the way I think they are, then Zach Pascal will be the true number 3 wide receiver in the way that they want to use him. So I think he has more than 40 catches this year. I do believe that.
Yeah, he's certainly consistent, and the coaches certainly trust him quite a lot. So yeah. I definitely could see him getting more touches and getting more catches thrown his way, especially early on when, you don't – with Phillip Rivers coming in, you need guys that you can trust right away, right? You haven't built the full chemistry yet. So I think that's fair. I really do. He had 607 yards last year, so I'm going to set it at 500. 500 receiving yards for Zach Pascal.
I think he hits that. I think he does. I think he hits 500. I think he goes over, because if he's going to get 45 catches, 45, 50 catches, I think he's going to average 10 yards per catch, because, he did that in 2018 with Andrew Luck, and he only had 27 catches. Last year he averaged 15 yards a catch. So I totally believe that he'll hit 500. Yeah, that's no question to me.
Okay, sure. He had 5 receiving touchdowns last year. He had 2 the year prior. So I'm going to go 4. What do you think?
I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I think he can hit 5 again. I do believe he can hit 5 again.
Okay, cool. Well, that wraps up those 4 that we know are probably going to be pretty locked for this roster.
Yeah.
Now the 5 and 6. These are interesting because I honestly think right now as it stands, Marcus Johnson has a really good shot, and it's going to be hard to cut him. He's a guy that's pretty familiar with the Colts system. He had some pretty decent games last year when everybody was getting injured. Does Marcus Johnson have an 100-yard game this year? Are you going to go over or under on that?
I'm going to go under. As much as I like Johnson and what he's able to do when it comes to some plays, we saw that one catch he had in the Saints game, but I just don't know. With all the receivers that are on here, I don't think Johnson hits the 100-yard mark.
Okay. And then we'll go Reese Fountain. Over or under, do you think Reese Fountain makes this final 53-man roster? He's shown flashes, but let's face it, up to this point, due to some circumstances that he couldn't control, he has not really played significant snaps at the NFL level.
Right.
Are you over or under on Reese Fountain making this roster?
Yeah, we kind of had that situation with Deion Kane last year as well, wondering how he was going to do with that. It all depends on what we see on training camp. It really does. It depends on how he does. I'm sure he's pretty close to 100% now. But, yeah, I am over on Reese Fountain making this roster. I do believe that this man's ready to play and get going, so I'm over. Okay.
Which must mean you're under on Desmond Patman making the roster and Ashton Dulin making the roster.
Yeah, Ashton Dulin will probably be another one that'll fight for it, but Desmond, I think, still has a little bit of ways to go.
Right. And he's only a rookie, so he has time.
Yeah, he's only a rookie. He's got time. I'm sure he can make it at some point.
Moving on to the tight ends. Jack Doyle, Mr. Consistent. He's been consistent for so long with the Colts. Last year, he had 43 catches, nearly 500 yards, about 450, and 4 receiving touchdowns. So he's never been the most flashy tight end, but he's been consistent, and he's been a security blanket for his quarterbacks. So I'm going to put 50 catches for Jack Doyle this year with Phillip Rivers, upgraded quarterback. Where do you sit for Jack Doyle?
Whew, that's a good one. Geez. 50 catches. That's interesting. I'm going to say slightly under, because you got Trey Burton and just the multitude of weapons. Phillip Rivers likes to throw it everywhere. So, and I think Jack Doyle's going to be a much bigger emphasis on the run game this year. So he might not get as many receptions. I do think he'll get around 40 to 45, but I don't think he's going to hit 50. I don't think so.
Okay, that's fair enough. He had 450 yards last year, so I'm going to set it at 450. I know there's a lot of mouths that need fed. So what do you think, Derek?
Again, I'm right at that number. I'm probably going to go I'm going to probably stick at that number. 450, I'm right on that. I think Jack Doyle will do that, yeah.
And he had 4 receiving touchdowns, so I'll go 5 this next year.
I'm going to stick at that number as well. I'm going to stick right at 5 because he did that only one other time, and that was in 2016 with Andrew Luck. I don't believe he's going to go above 5 this year.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, now we'll move on to Trey Burton, a new addition to this Colts tight end group. He was injured last year, unfortunately, only caught 14 passes for 84 yards. But the year before with Chicago, he was pretty decent. He had over 50 catches, nearly 600 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So I'll kind of do the same predictions here. 50 catches for Trey Burton. What do you think?
Under. I'm going under. I think he'll have in the 40 range, kind of the same thing as Jack Doyle, but I don't believe he's going to have over 50 catches. I don't think that he's going to favor Trey Burton over Jack Doyle that much more.
Okay, 500 yards.
I think he can do that. I think he can because Trey Burton has just has an aspect of making more plays after the catch than Jack Doyle usually does. Has a little bit more of that flashiness to him, so I think he actually can do that.
Okay. And I'll go 5 touchdowns as well for him.
I think he goes over. I think he goes over that. I think Trey Burton's more of a red zone target for Phillip Rivers, so I'll go over.
Okay. Awesome. Mo Alley Cox one-handed catches. Let's go 3.
I'll go under. I'll go under for that one, unfortunately. As much as I would love to see over, but I don't see that quite happening.
That'd be sweet.
That would be sweet though. That video went viral, man. That was amazing.
I heard it on the radio live. Announcer went nuts, man.
Oh yeah, I bet. I mean, because Andrew Luck overthrew him, and it's only because you're 6'5" and you have like 10 and a half inch hands that you can just snag that thing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's certainly a physical freak. I hope he puts it all together. He's got all those.
Yeah,
tools.
I really do. I mean, he'd be tight end 3, but I still want to see him get something this year. The dude's a big guy. He's a big guy. I mean, that's what you want in the red zone.
Yeah. All right, Colts offensive line. Here we go. Right. We're just gonna have them all as a unit here.
Okay.
Because we could keep going and it could take another 30 minutes to do. So we're just gonna break them down as a unit.
Okay.
So the Colts offensive line's obviously been one of the better ones in the league. So they're shooting for top 5, right, in the rushing attack. They've made that very clear. They shot for it last year, didn't quite get it. They've made some additions in their running back room, their fullback room, their tight end room, even their wide receiver room. They got a bigger receiver to hopefully help run block. So the Colts will have a top 5 rushing unit this year, over or under?
Over. I think it's apparent what they're trying to do here. You brought back Anthony Costanzo. You have 3 great tight ends that can block. Roosevelt Nix that you brought in to help bring in that rushing attack to help out on short yardage gains. And a lot of your wide receivers are very good at blocking. Zach Pascal doesn't get enough recognition for that. Michael Pittman's a good one too. So I really like what this unit altogether is very good at blocking. So I do see this happening. Top 5, I'm definitely over on that.
I might be under just because they might be more efficient, but with also adding Phillip Rivers, it might take away a little bit more of having to run it so much. That's a tricky one for me because I feel like they'll be more efficient, but I just don't know based off of how many carries they'll have this year if they'll be a top 5 rushing team in terms of yards. Now, maybe yards per carry or whatever it is, they might be top 5.
Right.
But that's just kind of where I stand. I'm not sure how I feel on that. Let's look at now protecting the quarterback, protecting Phillip Rivers. We know he's notoriously had one of the worst offensive lines year after year with the Chargers. But now he comes to the Colts, and they have a pretty good unit in terms of protecting their quarterback. I mean, they've been one of the top units at protecting their quarterback for the past 2 years. So let's look at this. Phillip Rivers, less mobile than Andrew Luck, obviously, less mobile probably than Jacoby Brissett, honestly, at this point in his career. Let's look at how many sacks the Colts will allow. Do you think the Colts will be top 5 in protecting the quarterback this year?
Yes, I do believe so. I think Phillip Rivers is going to get might have some issues early. And the funny thing is, they say quarterbacks, they oftentimes when they go to a new team, they're very quick to get the ball out of their hands. He's going to get more comfortable as time goes along. But early on, Phillip Rivers, I don't think is going to get sacked that much early because Phillip is going to want to try to get the ball out of his hands quicker because he's just trying to get used to this new team and how to feel them out. So I think they are going to be top 5. I'm going to be over for when it comes to sacks allowed.
Okay. All right. And then the passing offense. Do you think this will be a top 10 passing offense this next year, over or under?
I'm going to say under. I think that this team can definitely be in the top half of the NFL. I do believe that they will. I think they'll probably be right in the middle somewhere. But I don't believe that they're going to be a top 10 because I just feel there are a lot of other teams that are going to be doing that. Now, efficient-wise, I think the Colts can definitely get into that top 10, but in regards to explosiveness and yards and everything else that they try to do with their metrics, I think they'll be slightly under that, even though I do think they'll be right at above average level, though.
And above average is a lot better than what they were.
Yeah, than what it was last year. Yeah,
we'll take
that. Better than what it was.
Any day of the week, we'll take that.
Yep.
So, cool. Well, that wraps up our look at the Colts over-under predictions for the offense. We will look at the defense in the next episode. So be sure to check that one out. Be sure to let us know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think the Colts will, beat some of these marks or be slightly under? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But for Derek and myself, thank you all for listening. And as always, go Colts.